Hey everybody, welcome back to the Live Ultralight podcast powered by Outdoor Vitals. Today we're on another episode of the Ask OV podcast. So we do have some questions. This is a shorter, slightly more informal episode where we just take questions from the audience, where you guys either write them in on YouTube or message them in directly to our customer support, and then we answer them live on the podcast. Benefits of doing this is just that you get direct access to myself and to Brigham, our lead designer here. And so we can get really particular and specific about gear recommendations, things we like, things we don't like. So keep the questions coming in. On this particular episode, though, it is airing at the same time that our biggest sale of the year is going on. So our early Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale is the biggest sale that we do all year. And that is actively going on, where you're going to have site-wide savings, up to 18% if you're on the Peak Tier membership. Plus, you're going to get a bunch of freebies. So every single order gets something for free. And then the more you spend, the more freebies we add in. And I believe if you add those up, we're well past the $100 mark in freebies as you spend. And and the last thing is, as you shop, we give you more entries into a giveaway that we're going to be running as well, where you can win a Garmin InReach Messenger. I've been using the Garmin InReach Messenger all year and have really liked it. Biggest things that I've noticed from going from the Garmin InReach 2 Mini 2 to the Messenger has just been, it's really good at getting those messages out and receiving them. I'd say it's been a pretty good improvement there, where the Mini
like
2,
the speed at which it transmits. Cool.
Yeah, like the Mini 2, I often felt like it needed to be, on my shoulder or somewhere where it had like clear view of the sky, things like that. Whereas with the Messenger, I can put it like in the top of a backpack, or like if you have a backpack with like a lid. I've run them in a lid before. I've run them. Yeah, it doesn't seem as particular, I guess you can say. And then battery life, I feel like it's gone up again from the Mini 2. So I've had it out there I had it running all day, every day of the Colorado Trail, and that was 5.5, 6 days, and I still had battery. So I never charged it once.
Charge it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
I mean, I'll turn it off when I get in my tent at night after I'm done sending any messages at night, and then I'll just kick it on when I'm packaging everything up in the morning to head out. So yeah, it's an impressive piece. So we are running a giveaway for that, and basically the more that you shop, the more entries you get into that. But there are more details on that, so you'll want to look those up on how you can get entered. Okay, so today we do have listener questions. We're going to get to those for sure. And we also wanted to just take a minute to kind of talk about some stuff going on around here. It's getting to the end of the year. It's always fun to look back and see what's been some of the favorite pieces of gear, some of our favorite things that have happened this year. And then, of course, just any insider information, I guess you can say. We know that the people that listen to this podcast are typically our diehards, so want to keep you guys well informed. So I'm going to start this off with a really broad question. It's going to be a question that Brigham will hate. But what has been your favorite piece of gear in 2025?
2025. Let's see.
I'll go first.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I'll take one of the ones that's going to be on your mind. I'm actually, even though we launched some awesome apparel pieces, which I'm sure you'll probably pick one of those, I'm going to say that the brand new Shadowlight has been my favorite piece of gear this year. I think like our last Shadowlight was phenomenal. It sold exceptionally well. It's a bestseller for years. But the improvements that we did on it this year were, I think, were really, really good. The carbon fiber frame added a lot of comfort. It just fits to the body really well for me. It moves with the body really well, and then I love just the minor tweaks that we did with pocketing, making some of them a little bit bigger and moving some things around. But overall, the comfort on that pack is just super, super impressive, and I used it a lot this year. So that one was top of mind for me as, I would say, my favorite piece of OV gear for the year.
Yeah, well, this is always a tough one.
Pick your favorite.
As the common
child.
listener knows, much of what I use is like a prototype, something in development, and there's 2 or 3 of those that I could name that I've really enjoyed using this whole last year. Talk about those more, but coming next year. Some of them earlier next year, some of them later. But yeah, that's tough. So filtering those out, I'd say I'm gonna talk about 2, but probably narrow it down to 1. There's 2 that are most recently come to mind just because I was in the mountains last week. So the Vantage Alpine Jacket and the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece. Vantage Alpine Jacket I don't know. It's like so simple. It's a very simple product. So simple to just like get the immediate benefit of that product, So I was in Colorado last week. Daytime highs were low to mid 30s, and the overnight lows they got down to just below 12 one night, but most nights they were in like the mid to upper teens. But, I'm kind of up and about before the sun rises and after the sun sets a lot of the time. And so, however, I will say just because it's more of you wear it when it's cold, I didn't get as much use out of it this year as the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece. And I would say that's probably my favorite just because it has a broader use case. You can leave it on your body for much more of a given year throughout the seasons, and just found that to just be really comfortable. Once it's on, it's like it's kind of not there. I don't think about it. That's probably my favorite OV piece of kit for 2025.
Yeah, the amount of times I put the Pursuit on and just get to the end of the day and realize I'd never taken it off is quite high, especially this time of year if you're out and about.
And it's like I sleep in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
sleep in
and when
it.
I'm out, I'm sleeping in it. It's just like rarely comes off as long as it's the weather, the temperatures are low enough,
Yeah, I was out for 2 nights, 3 days, and I had packed like some changes of clothes and stuff because I was going to be kind of going past my car. Got to the end of that, and totally unintentionally, I hadn't taken off my base layer or that piece in 3 days. I didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? It just, anyways. Yeah, phenomenal pieces for sure. I'm gonna list a couple other things that I also have liked this year that you can typically find in our other proven essentials. If you're a Live Ultralight member on the website, you have access to these at discounts. Not all of these, but some of them. Nightcore battery banks, those things just continue to perform, and they're just so stinking light. Haven't had any issues with them. Really been happy with those. A big one this year was the however you say this, Knock Vecto 2-liter. I use that as a dirty bag. So it's got the wide opening on the one side to quickly fill up. And then you can just screw a Platypus Quick Draw or a Sawyer Squeeze or other filters onto it. And man, that made a huge difference in speed of water filtration this year. Plus, it's 2 liters, so I can carry dirty water if I ever want to carry more water than I just have the ability to kind of beef up on that. But there was just multiple times when I was filtering with other people that it was like almost easier for me to just scoop and filter their water than for them to try to get water in like a bag that has a small opening and things like that, depending on where I was getting water. So that one was huge. This one is always on the list, but Easton 9-inch stakes, the 8.5-inch stakes or whatever they are. Those things just perform in snow, in sand, in dirt, in high altitude,
That's
alpine
a staple
conditions.
product for sure.
If you don't have a set of those, put it on your list. I started trying this Koros Nomad watch, and I may have to do some more, feedback on this. But my thought on this is I pretty much have everything that's in the Apex. I have really long battery life, and the price is quite a bit cheaper. So my thought on this is it is just a phenomenal buy. I like Garmin products. I like the Apex product. But if you are on a budget at all, this has been a great, affordable. Like I would still put it in the high end GPS watch
Very
category.
feature packed
Mhm.
performance.
Yeah. So I've been running it for a couple months now, maybe 3 months now, and it's just been solid and takes a haircut off the price of like the Apex. So that's been really good. And I'll give one more shout out here. I've been using so Backcountry Exposure is a friend of ours, runs a YouTube channel, Devin Ashby. He started making different little dry bags and zippered bags, and I started to use some of those for food and really enjoyed those. We actually just put those on our website as well. So happy to be working with Devin. But there's just kind of different sizes of zippered dry bags. I guess they're not dry bags, but zippered bags, and then there are some more dry bags. And I've just kind of enjoyed having a few different sizes and options to go through this year for different trips. If I'm going for like a weekend, if I'm going for like a bigger time frame, I have to have a bigger food bag. But for weekend stuff, maybe in 3-4 days, I can pretty much fit everything in one of his zippered bags. And it's just so convenient to zip it, hold it all together, especially if I'm going to repackage any of my peak refuel meals or other meals that I'm using. I can really fit a lot in some of those zipper bags.
They're good bags. I do like them. I have the original food bag, and I want to get the bigger one. But I also had one of the just like the more, I don't know, like this size of zippered pouches.
Mm-hmm.
I took it on my last business trip to Asia, and it was really handy. I kept like my battery bank, charging cords, earbuds, like really stuff that when you're on a plane for 15 hours, like it's really nice to just have all contained. I got back to Vegas and I realized this all after like being home for 12 hours, but I just got off the plane and left that thing on my seat. So it had a battery bank, it had charging cables, it had my inflatable neck pillow. Anyway, so I was pretty bummed about that. That was definitely a loss.
Yeah, I need to I tried using one of those bags for moving all my first aid stuff into, because I like that it's more durable than what I'd had. Kind of put some holes in some of my older first aid zip bag. But I need to get the slightly bigger size. I was just kind of maxing it out. So I'll have to do that. But yeah, any other products you just want to call out for 2025 that you've enjoyed using?
Well, I mean, we were talking about it. I really have liked the Thermarest Neoloft. In the conditions I've used it in, it's been very comfortable. Yeah.
Comfort, like 10 out of 10 for an inflatable pad, lightweight inflatable pad.
Well, it's probably the most comfortable I've used. And I'm not like, I haven't tried everything out there, but I've tried most of the bigger players. It's definitely up there, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree. My only thing is I need to find the exact temperature when to switch, because I did freeze on it when it got quite cold at night. But I've also slept on it warmer conditions, say plus, warmer than freezing, freezing and warmer, and it is incredible, especially for like a side sleeper where I get like pain in my shoulder sometimes, things like that. Really took a lot of that away, so it was an impressive piece. Any last call outs? And I apologize if you hear any background noise. We got some construction going on around the office, which has been quiet until, of course, you turn on the mic. So, yeah, always feel like lately it's been a constant stream of improving the office. So, but yeah, any other call outs?
I mean, there's like just some really staple items that just continue to work well. I still use, I think it's the NU25 headlamp, the one with the cord. The elastic cord. That works really well for me still. I've really enjoyed using that. And then
it is not
Platypus Quick Draw is like, I mean, those are just like really reliable. They just work well. And
I'm the same way. I do like that Nightcore NU25. Battery life wise, that thing lasts so long. I will say if you're running or you really need a ton of light, I don't know that it's the absolute brightest option. But for just backpacking, it's my go-to for sure.
It is crazy how I like that how it's got the dim setting.
Oh yeah, the ultra dim.
Most of the time I'm using it, it's just like around the tent, and it's
In
like
your
plenty
tent.
of light, and so I never have to charge the thing, especially in the summer when it's just kind of that situation where I'm using it maybe for an hour at night, 20 minutes in the morning on the dim setting. But
yeah, I agree. Definitely impressive. Okay, before we get into a couple listener questions here, wanted to just talk about some things to have on your radar, I guess, for OV. It actually starts off with a listener question. We've probably answered this in different forms over time, but the question is, why do you have products stock out? Which from the outside perspective, it's like this is a really dumb thing to have happen. If you don't have products to sell, how do you make any money? Keep things in stock. Simple, right? But what's not simple about it is we build really high-end premium products, and it takes a long time to make those products. On average, our quickest products might take 7 months, and our longest products might take a full year. So when we have things like these new releases where we don't really have like a history of sales with them, we don't know exactly how popular they're going to be when we release them. We put together our best estimate, we place orders, but I can promise you we sold them very well, and we will have stockouts of all of the new releases. So that would include Altura pants, Pursuit Hybrid Fleece, Vantage jacket, hopefully not the Shadow Light. I think we can handle the Shadow Light. So be on the lookout for some of those. So this is kind of your fair warning, but just know, we are a small company. We're managing inventory as well as we can to not waste and tie up a lot of money in things that aren't moving. But we choose to produce the best gear that we possibly can. And that takes a lot of time. I've definitely talked to other business owners. They're like, why do you stock out? And, their lead times are 2 to 3 months, whereas ours are on average 8 to 9 months. So
yeah, there's also like, everybody, like, we're an independently owned, smaller, small company, and we are very performance focused and detail and quality focused to make a really good product. But also we really wouldn't be able to be that way if we were not financially conservative, or just as a general business practice. If we're just almost willy-nilly just over ordering just so we're not ever out of stock, that just ties up so much money that could be otherwise put into the things that matter, which is the product. And so, like, I can get, a customer's disappointment or frustration with stockouts, but with what we want to do as a company and our size and our resources and how we operate, it's not like we try to have it happen, but it's something that is, sometimes going to happen because of how we operate, because of what we prioritize. And we don't prioritize just trying to hurry and develop a product, and then so that product is really simple and uses really cheap materials that are just basically off the shelf, that any sewing factory can just source immediately because there's a million yards of it available. That's just not how we choose to do business, and those are not the products we want to offer. So a lot of time when Tayson talks about the products that we make, we're talking about that there might be 5 total materials in a product, and 2 of those take 6 months to produce. Well, if we want to like guarantee we don't ever stock out on anything, we essentially have to blindly over order just so that we just have inventory. And again, that's just money being tied up, that is much better spent on more important things.
Yep, exactly. Okay, a couple other things I wanted to just put out there on the radar to watch for. You're gonna see Summit sleeping bags stocking out more and more. We're actually not going to be restocking those. We're making way for something better. So in the tail end of 2026, be on the lookout for something like that. But that's all I can really say for right now until we get that completely finalized. But yeah, you'll see Summit sleeping bags stocking out. So if you like our Summit, mummy style sleeping bag, you're going to want to get on that sooner than later because they're not coming back right now. And then hammocks, after a lot of the stuff that's gone on lately, direction of our company, things like that. Basically, our hammock line and accessories is going to slowly fade out as well. It's not our number one passion, I would say, to do hammock products. And then also because of like where we've taken so much of our development and focus, we've kind of taken it off of the hammock side, and it's just not really feasible for us to keep it going. It would require a lot of work for us to be shifting around some manufacturing, redesigning, reworking things, and it's just not where we want to put our efforts. We'd rather put them into these other projects we have going on and stuff. So you'll slowly see some of our hammock line and accessories stock out and fade away. So yeah, any other things? I mean, that's all I noted down for as far as things like to watch for. Other than that, we're growing and we're moving and we're shaking this year, and so we'll continue to do that. We've got some new releases coming in 2026 for sure, and are very excited about those. So, but we'll try to keep you informed on here as much as we can. So, okay, let's jump to some more listener questions. I've got essentially 3 more questions here I'd like to run through. So Don Glazier is asking, what do you use for insoles? Do you use what comes with the shoes, or do you use something like Superfeet? I'll let you answer. I think we might have different answers on this, so get 2 perspectives.
It depends on the footwear. If it's something really cushiony and soft and pliable, like a trail runner, and I mean like a true trail runner, not like there's some of these like Merrell makes them or Danner makes them that people might think of they're like a trail. I'm talking something like a Hoka, an Ultra, a Saucony, a La Sportiva, true trail runner, like those
built for running, not just hiking with
they don't
support.
It's not that they look like a trail runner, they are designed for trail running.
Mm-hmm.
I there may have been one pair that it was a pair of Topos that I actually changed out the insoles to a pair of Superfeet. But with trail runners, I generally don't. If I'm using something, because I do a lot of like hunting in the mountains, steep terrain, when I'll change out my footwear to more of a boot. And when I do that, all of the like more mountainous, rugged boot type footwear I have Superfeet. I think there are Superfeet hike cushioned insoles in all of them. And but the ratio to use is way heavier on trail runners and like for hiking.
Yeah.
So most of my miles are done with just the stock insoles that come in those trail runners.
Yeah. For me, I do use an insole in pretty much everything I touch, but I only started to do that after having issues with plantar fasciitis, or however you want to say that. That was the thing that brought me the most relief and has continued to. Now it's like if I don't use one for an extended period of time, I'll start to actually feel that, like those tendons on the bottom of my feet slowly start to get inflamed again. So like this year I did go on a 5-6 day trip with some Topo Designs kind of mid-top hiking boots. By the end of it, I could feel it in there just a little bit that I didn't have an insole. And so I'm just so used to having insoles that I do keep them. As far as which insole, I've used Superfeet and they've been good, but I haven't seen them be quite as durable as the Curex. So I think that's Curex. And that's been my favorite. I've run those for a lot of years now. They're pretty popular, I would say, with runners, but like they're really solid for me. And typically, I can buy an insole and I can use it for two shoes worth of life cycle. So the insole outlasts the shoe. So that is kind of nice because those insoles are like $50 plus you're buying a trail runner for like $100 or $150. And so it's an investment, but you can typically take that insole and use it for 2 pairs of shoes before they're worn out. So something to keep in mind. But if you suffer for anything like that, do it. If you're just looking for more, I would say though, if you're looking for just more padding, like you're just like, man, like I just want these shoes to be more comfortable or something like that, an insole may help a little bit, but in reality, I would go back to the shoe itself and look for something with more cushion or look for something that gives you what you're lacking. An insole isn't going to change the shoe. It's just going to, I don't know.
It's the interface between the bottom of your foot and the shoe. But it actually then works vertically as well because that interface beneath your foot and in between your foot and the shoe on the bottom actually affects how your shoe fits the top of your foot as well, especially when it comes to more supportive insoles, maybe that have a heel cup or more pronounced arch support. Then it prevents maybe the collapsing of the arch a little bit. So then the bridge and top of your foot will fit differently in a shoe too, and that's something I'm pretty sensitive to it. So I'll pay really close attention to if an insole actually changes the geometry of my foot placement in the shoe. I mean, because the shoe's shape is fixed, right? And so if an insole changes where your heel sits within that shoe, then that could potentially affect the comfort or the functionality of the shoe. So those are just some things
are hitting. If it's too tight across the bridge of your foot, yeah, for sure. Definitely pay attention to those things. So I have had like at times different shoes get like discomfort over the top of my foot because I've got a lot more pressure, and that's what an insole is going to do. Especially most of these insoles are going to have an arch support in them, which essentially bridges up your foot a little bit. So definitely be aware of that. Okay. Daniel Beaupre asked, how long does it take a backpack to break in? I feel that some of my packs and their fabrics get better with use. This is I don't think we have ever talked about this. So when I saw that question, I'm like, all right. Let's talk about that.
The first things that with breaking, the first things that came to my mind were more things like the actual interface with the body. So things that contain foam or any kind of support or structure, because that's something to talk about too. And then in terms of what do you say? The fabrics seem to be better. I guess I would want to know define better in what metric or what, you know what I mean? Like, is it better because it's softer when you roll it up or it's quieter or,
yeah, my guess is the way that I would interpret this would just be that things soften up a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about break-in. Usually you're talking about things kind of softening up and conforming. And so, my 2 cents on this is for a ultralight backpack, I don't think there's going to be hardly any break-in period or shouldn't typically be. I think a break-in period is more likely on a heavier, more robust pack. So if you're a sportsman, you've got a hunting pack, they're going to use much more dense foams because you're going to be under a lot more pressure, a lot more weight. And so I could see there being a bit of a break-in period on some of those. I mean, but I think the best backpack manufacturers are doing their best to reduce or eliminate a break-in period. But I just, my head kind of goes back to you don't break in a pair of trail runners. You typically put on a pair of trail runners and they're pretty much ready to go. If there's a break-in period, it is 5 to 10 miles maximum. On a pair of boots, though, there are literally boot manufacturers out there that say get 30 to 50 miles on a pair of boots to break them in.
Mm-hmm.
And, but those are also built for packing heavy loads, going on really aggressive rock, shale or sharp rocks or, things like that. And so I kind of think of this question the same way, where to me it's like the heavier, more heavy duty the pack is, there's probably going to be a little bit of a break-in period. But for something like an ultralight pack, I've never thought once about breaking it in.
No, I can't say I've ever noticed any importance to it with any of the packs I've used. Yeah, like on the fabric side, if that's just kind of like a personal preference thing, when you are manipulating your pack bag, when you've taken it off and you're accessing your gear, and you like it to feel like soft and supple or pliable, that's just going to come with time. Time packing it and unpacking it, and but to me, what would be the most important was just the body interface, anything interfacing with the body, so the suspension essentially.
Yeah, I've almost seen it the other way. The more you use the pack, the more salt you get into your pack from sweating.
Oh yeah,
and it almost stiffens up, and you need to wash it
that and
out.
Scrub it with a toothbrush from time to time.
Okay, so part 2 of his question was, have you ever been on a long enough trip that would require you to wash or rinse any of your clothes? Or when will the dirty clothes begin to affect their performance? So,
a couple things there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you definitely can go on a trip that is long enough, mainly through hikers. Like, you got to be out, to me, the way that I think about this, you got to be out there more than a week before you're going to see like degradation in performance for most items. Smell wise, things like that. Yeah, I've occasionally like rinsed off, or like if you're out there a week, depending on when, you might get rained on and kind of get a little bit of a rinse accidentally. But I think you got to be like through hiker status. You got to be covering a couple 100 miles before I think you're going to start to lose performance. My thought would be on performance, like what is going to lose performance. There's a couple ways to look at that in my mind. One would be performance from like maybe like almost like fit. Like you get so much salt on a sun hoodie, and it's not comfortable anymore, or it can bring up rash or something like that, just from abrasion and things. So like there's that kind of stuff where rinsing it can be helpful. For sure. And so that's like more just like, because it's dirty, it's not fitting right anymore, or it's like stiffening up the fabrics. Then the other side of it is like degradation, specifically in like loft of down, loft of insulation, which comes from getting dirty too.
Yeah, I can think of, there's a few different categories of gear or apparel that could potentially have some functional degradation. For example, like a laminated membrane type waterproof breathable rain gear, right? So inside or outside dirt and body contaminants, body oils, those things, whether it's on the inside or the outside, the dirtier they get, the more easily water adheres to it and or clogs the breathability. And any waterproof breathable jacket is not that breathable anyway. So it's going to take, definitely a week, beyond a week, before you're really noticing like, oh man, this is totally clogged up and feels like a plastic bag, because you've sweat in it. You've got sweat, salt, body oil on the inside, and you've, set it down in dirt, and wind has blown dust all over the outside. Those two are going to functionally degrade the performance of that piece, and which can be washed out, especially when you're using the correct washing product at home. But it could benefit from a rinse in a creek or a lake, just to take off 20 to 30% of that grime. And that does affect the performance. You mentioned down, so down or any really lofted insulation, same thing. Contaminants, dirt, dust, body oil, those things, once they work their way into down, it gradually will kind of decrease its loft. And I would agree it's going to be over a week, over a week or more. Again, depending on activity levels, body physiology, some people just don't sweat. I think me and you sweat profusely. And then I will say, like, depending on the hike, man, like you go hike 50 miles in a day in a sun hoodie, and you will start in the warm weather. Like, yeah, I've gotten so much crusty salt buildup that it stiffens up the fabric. So that's not really. It's kind of functional. It's absolutely a comfort detriment, though. You start feeling the rubbing of the salt. Yeah, it just feels you've got like these crispy areas of your shirt, and that it's noticeable. So that can easily happen in a week of summer backpacking.
Yeah, I think the most important thing on this to say is just that everyone's different and every hike's different. So there's some people that just are rolling around in the dirt per se in their puffy jacket. And of course that's going to get dirty. There's some people that are meticulous about keeping things clean. There's people that are going to hike in a puffy jacket, even though we don't recommend that. Then they get sweat in it. And so that's going to, cause more. And then there's times like when you go on a hike, like for me, hiking in the desert in the sand, like sometimes there's no escaping the sand. Sometimes you wake up and there's a dang sand dune inside your tent. There's just such fine sand here in southern Utah and northern Arizona. And it can blow through mesh and anything. And so there's times like that. So hike dependent, person dependent. So it's hard to just say like 1 week is the timeline, but I would say in general, it's got to be pretty bad conditions for it to be you needing to wash gear on trail in sooner than a week. I think you're going to be able to. I mean, there's probably people. I'm sure there's people out there all the time that hike the entire, Appalachian Trail and don't wash their puffy. Will it be degraded and like not as lofty? Absolutely. But do they do it? You can do it. So
yeah.
Being mindful of your own gear, being aware of it, I think is just the best solution. If you notice something like your down jacket's not being as puffy, yeah, like that's something to be aware of and maybe try to wash it out. So, okay. Wanted to wrap this up now. Just a quick reminder again, our biggest sale of the year is going on right now. Site-wide savings, free gear with stuff, giveaways. I also wanted to point out this. This is the first time that any of those 4 brand new products that we just released will be on sale. So if you've not yet purchased the Altura pants, Pursuit Hybrid Fleece, the Vantage jacket, or the Shadowlight, this is the first time you can buy them at a discount. So take advantage of that. I expect many people will, but wanted to point that out. As usual, though, we're getting close to Thanksgiving. We really appreciate you guys. We're very fortunate to be able to do what we love and call it work. And we take that very seriously, too, to try to provide as much value to you as we can. But at the end of the day, wouldn't be possible if you guys didn't support us. So thanks so much. Hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving and start to your holidays. And we'll catch you guys in a future episode.